Jai Shri Prabhupada, Vedanta Swami Dhyane, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gaurvani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashyadri Sutane. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was visiting England, London, in the month of August in 1991, and he became very sick there. I think he had developed chest congestion and chronic cough and all that. So one member from Mombasa, he's a very influential person, and he met Srila Prabhupada. His name was Mataji. And he suggested to Srila Prabhupada that you need to go to a very warm place, so why don't you come to Mombasa? He invited Prabhupada to come to Mombasa because he used to be an MLA there, and at that time we still used to have that, we used to have certain areas dedicated to people who are white, certain for Africans and certain for Indians. And because he was an MLA, he used to have a very beautiful bungalow right on the ocean, where mostly all the white people were staying. And in fact, his bungalow was one of the best ones because it was very well situated. It was facing the ocean, and his garden area went all the way. It was on a hill, and it went down, and there was like an 18-hole golf course, which was right on the bank of the ocean. So Srila Prabhupada was meditating whether to go or not, and then he remembered that Ramananda Prabhu, who was the GBC for Kenya, had invited Srila Prabhupada that please come to Kenya, it's a very beautiful place. But somehow, because of all his different tours to different places, he somehow avoided coming to Mombasa or Kenya. So somehow that thought came into his mind, and he decided, okay, maybe I should go there. And he spoke to Mr. Pandya and he said, okay, I will go there, you can make arrangements. And he even sent a message to Ramananda Prabhu that I'm coming. So when Mr. Pandya called up his son, Ravi, that these people are coming, the devotees are coming, and Guru Maharaj is coming, so please make all the nice arrangements. But the family was not too happy, because when you have a sadhu in your house, then you're restricted in your movements and all your things. So they were very apprehensive that somebody should come to their house. But somehow they were convinced by the father and they agreed. So that my father was the chartered accountant for the son Naveen. And he called up my father because my father and Mr. Pandya were part of the Hindu Council in Mombasa. So he just told my father that this guru of the foreigners is coming here. So can you help us in making arrangements? My father said, okay. So it was a week of arrangement that we had to do, that my father had to make arrangement. And then it was time that Srila Prabhupada was coming. And that day, see, in Mombasa we cannot purchase flowers like here. So we had to go pick flowers from everybody's garden. And Mr. Pandya had a very beautiful garden, and he had like 7 varieties of champas growing in his house. So his Naveen's wife and children, they picked all the flowers and they sent it over to my house. And my mother was supposed to make the garland, but she was not keeping too well. So somehow my father said, can you prepare a garland? And I said, for whom? And he said, this is some guru coming from India, but he's a foreigner. So I said, okay. So I made the garland. And then next day at around 11, we all went to the airport. And my father asked if you want to come. So I said, okay. Because I wanted to see the foreign guru. So I went along with him. And when we went at the airport, Prabhupada was on time. They arrived at 11:30. And there was 3-4 devotees accompanying him. one was Shamsundar Prabhu, who was the secretary, Jananivas Prabhu, and Narunarayan Prabhu. And Brahmananda Prabhu was there also with them. And as soon as they came, he already was wearing such a beautiful rose garland, because Nairobi is very famous for roses. They have roses that are that big, and they have like 57 species of roses in Nairobi. So I was thinking my champa garland was like, just small garland. Somehow, because in Mombasa, we were very restricted into going into white people's area, so like seeing all these white people with Srila Prabhupada, I was like standing behind my father, and then my father went to the garden to Srila Prabhupada, and then everybody offered obeisances, straight Dandava, and I was thinking what's happening. So I just offered pranam, and then we brought them all the devotees of Srila Prabhupada to Naveen Bhai's house, and they had prepared a very nice vyasasana for Srila Prabhupada also, because they said he won't sit on a sofa, he only sits on separate places that nobody sat on it and all that. So we had prepared a nice vyasasana, and Prabhupada came, and I was surprised because I was thinking he was supposed to be a foreigner guru, but he was so Indian. And because he was sick, he was walking quite slowly. And then when he came home, then we had made this arrangement that we would have a little puja for him. So we made him sit down on the vyasasana and gave him some water to drink. And then they asked me if I was supposed to go and offer red kumkum and a coconut. So I went up to him and I put the kumkum, but it was supposed to be wet, but somehow it had dried up. So when I put it, it was all powder and it fell on his nose. So just on an impulse, I started rubbing it, and it like smudged on his nose. And then everybody's like, shh, and then I was thinking, okay. And then I went down to offer my pranam, and I was thinking, all those devotees had offered Dandavat pranam, so I'm supposed to do the same way. So I stuck my hand on his foot and I put my head on his foot, and I made straight Dandavat. And I was wearing a frock. So Narunarayan Prabhu was behind me and he said, silly girl, And then Prabhupada, so nicely, just looked up at me and says, Nai. It's not silly, it's Nai, she's Nai.
How old were you?
I was 14. And then he spoke a little bit to the family. The family was introduced to him. And then he said that he wanted to freshen up and relax, so then he told us that we should all go away. So we all left, and after that, every day I used to get the flowers, and the garland was made and sent to the house. But we didn't visit Srila Prabhupada that often. He stayed for 10 days, but mainly he was relaxing, massage was being given to him, and he was taking the sun. That was advised that he should take lots of sun. So he would sunbathe. And only one time, when he was like much better, I think on the 8th day, that he said that he will meet with people. So that time we went to meet him, and the next day he was leaving. So briefly he was just saying that Mombasa is a very small town. It's a port area and it's an island. So there's not much activity going on. Everybody's like a lazy town. So Prabhupada was not happy there, because nothing was happening. It was like a dull place. And also when he came to Nairobi, at the airport he met this reporter. His name was Kulbhushan. And he is a very powerful reporter because he interviews diplomats. He had interviewed the Queen of England because she had come as a princess, and when she left from Kenya, she was a queen because in that process her father had passed away. So he was very rigid in his interviews also. So he had asked Srila Prabhupada that why have you come to Africa? What is your mission here? So Prabhupada said that my mission is to make Africans Krishna conscious, and And then I think he realized that nothing was happening here. Basically, it was mostly Indians that Ramananda Prabhu had preached to when they were coming to meet him. So just before he left, he told my father that he should have a nice preaching center where the Africans can come and he should help Ramananda Prabhu. So my father said, okay, but he didn't really pay much attention. So after that, Srila Prabhupada went back to Nairobi, and then he stayed there for almost 3 weeks, and he did such rigid preaching there that we heard about it also. It was very nice. We have this park there in Nairobi. It's a huge park called Kamakunji Park, and it's like Thompson Square Park. And there's a very historical tree there, very huge tree, because all the rallies that take place in Africa usually takes place from there, because there you can stand and say anything, you can abuse any ministers or the president, and you are not arrested. So when I think Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu was also there at that time, because Prabhupada was trying to get all his African American devotees to come there, because in 1972, Prabhupada told Ramananda Prabhu that I'm coming back in 6 months and we want to start a temple here, full-fledged with deity worship. So in that 3 weeks he was staying there, he visited many people's houses, preaching, establishing that we need a center here. And he had asked Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu to go and preach in that place because a lot of Africans gather in that park. So when Ramananda Prabhu went there with Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu, and they just stood under that tree and they started chanting, and we heard that so many Africans joined, and they were all doing the African dance and all that. And when Prabhupada heard about it, he says, see, this is what is required. All you need to do is go with your drums and kartas, because the Africans love drums, and so they like that sound. And I think that's how Ramananda Prabhu was very much encouraged, and he started preaching religiously to the Africans. And I was just thinking that, this incident that happened with me, that when I offered prostrated pranam to Srila Prabhupada, the other day I was sitting in Prabhupada's quarter chanting, and this 2-year-old boy from Nepal, he just walked inside, and his mother opened the door, and he came inside right into the Prabhupada's sitting area, and he just walked up to Srila Prabhupada's murti. He went down on his knees and he touched the feet of Srila Prabhupada, and then he just looked up at Prabhupada's face, and after a while he just did full dandavat and stuck his head on Prabhupada's feet. And I was thinking, wow, just look at that. Look at that. I was thinking that's such a nice reciprocation going on between this child and Prabhupada, because he stared in Prabhupada's face for such a long time before doing this action, touching his feet, his head to Prabhupada's feet. And I think so sweet. Even right now, Prabhupada is reciprocating with everybody. And then in 1972, when the temple was opening, Srila Prabhupada said that, told Ramananda Prabhu that we should get as many devotees as possible, get all the members, life members. So Ramananda Prabhu was inviting everybody, and they started all the decoration and everything of the rented place that we had. And then what happened is the deities came, and you also must have heard when the deities were opened, the boxes were opened, they were damaged. So then Ramananda Prabhu told my father that we won't have the temple opening because the deities have come, but they are not to be installed, they are broken. So we cancelled our tickets and everything. And then he spoke with Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, no, you made all these arrangements, so we will open the temple on the day that it is destined, because we had also invited all the TV people, the media was invited, we had distributed leaflets, even in Kenya, in Mombasa, we had distributed leaflets about this huge temple opening and everything. So then we heard that Prabhupada was in Bombay when he got this news, and he said, Mother Visha Prabhu, to go to Jaipur right away and bring any deities off the shelf. And that's what he did. In a day, they brought the deities to Mumbai, and the next day, Srila Prabhupada carried his deities on the flight, on the plane, because he didn't want to take the risk of getting them damaged. He puts them in the cargo. And they had to book a special seat for the deities, Radha Krishna, and they carried both of them holding. And when they arrived at the airport, we brought Srila Prabhupada, and I was there at that time helping with the flower, most of the flower work there. And a few ladies had also come over from England. Lila Shakti Mataji was there, and a few African American devotees with the Bhavana Prabhu, I think was there, Ram Keli Prabhu and Mahavirya and Ekanath Prabhu. So they were all invited, all of them were there. And the day they arrived, that same evening, Mother Vishnu Prabhu was very sick. He had high fever, so he was all the time resting. Prabhupada said, you just take good rest, you travel too much. And then the next day the doctor said he had malaria. By now, we had 1 week to do all the advertisement to media, and Prabhupada's interviews for the radio was there. And then there was this university called Nairobi University, which is a very big university where all African students are there. So Prabhupada gave a lecture there, and he said some very nice things that first he had Buddha Bhavana start off, because when you see Buddha Bhavana, who is tall, huge, very strong devotee, and he spoke, and he learned this word called Rambe, which is welcome. Let's work together. So he learned a few Swahili words, and he started off the process before Srila Prabhupada spoke. And Srila Prabhupada said very simple words he used so that the Africans can understand. He said, in this world everybody is hankering and lamenting. You people are hankering, the Africans are hankering like Europeans and Americans. And they are lamenting because they lost their empire. So he says, and already there's an atom bomb made, and if it goes off, all the skyscrapers, everything will stumble. So he says, don't hanker for such things, hanker for good things. And he's saying how, if you hanker for Krishna, then all your ambitions, all your desires will be fulfilled. So somehow, some of them understood, some of them didn't understood. So he says, and then at the end he says, anyway, this is only for the intellectual Africans. So then like everybody's just nodding their head. And then he invited all of them. Then we had this Voice of Kenya, VOK, it's a very big radio station. So Prabhupada gave interview there. We have another station called Mangureo, so Prabhupada gave interview there. And then on the day of the installation, just very nice story that I just forgot to say was the day Prabhupada arrived, he gave his laundry to this one Prabhu to do, and all his laundry was hanged out because we had a garden where all the laundry was hanged. And Prabhupada had told Ramananda Prabhu that before we come, we should have a few African bhaktas in the temple living, so you can be seen that we are here for the Africans. This center is for preaching to the Africans. And the area that this temple was here, that area was also like a shanty place where lots of Africans were staying. So Prabhupada had emphasized that we should distribute free food, free prasad, that way they get free Krishna consciousness. So every day they were doing lots of food distribution, giving out little booklets for free. So a lot of children were coming, a lot of youths were coming, just out of curiosity and also to get the prasad. So by then, Brahmananda Prabhu had managed to get about 7 youth, like young boys, to move into the temple. They were shaved up and ready. So then when Prabhupada came, he was very pleased that he already has these bhaktas now. So when all his clothes were hanging, then that evening, that devotee who had, can't remember his name, went to take Prabhupada's clothes and to iron, and he found that there was nothing left there, there was no clothes there. And where the garden was, there was a netting, and then there was the main road past that. So they were thinking, oh, somebody stolen the clothes from outside. So what to do, and then Prabhupada didn't have anything to wear, so somehow somebody found an uttar. So next morning, Prabhupada came for Mangalarti and he was wearing the kurta and then he had his shawl, it was not a kurta on, and just the shawl on. And the temple hall was very lightly lit and lighted, and he came in and all bhaktas were ready chanting. And when they turned on the light, because at that time we didn't have the deities installed, we just had, usually we had a big photograph of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doing Sankirtan. And when they turned on the lights, Prabhupada walked in, they said, "Those are my clothes." All these bhaktas were wearing short tops. Somebody was wearing on the tops, somebody on the bottom. He says, "You thieves?" And then Ramananda Prabhu came, I think Eknath came in and he started, ruffling them up. And Prabhupada said, it's okay. And then we had Mangalarti. So that was very funny because those boys you should have seen their faces. They were so scared because even Eknath Prabhu was so huge. So, and then when the temple opening, just the day before, Buddha Bhavana Prabhu was in charge of the daily worship, the pujari and everything, and we were making sure the dresses were okay. I didn't know much, but I was just helping Matajis who were doing Vijaya Shakti Mataji. And they found out that because when they saw the Krishnamurti, he was a Tribanga. Really Tribanga, because his head was like that, his shoulders were like that, and his waist was completely like that. So Buddha Bhavana Prabhu was trying to make the turban to see how it's going to be made, so that next morning it won't take any time. And every time he made the turban, it would fall off. So he got worried. He said, well, how am I going to, I need some hair. If I don't have a hair, how will the turban stay? So I said, we can buy some hair from the saloons here. So he says, can you go? I said, I don't know Nairobi, where to go because I don't know the saloons here. I'm from Mombasa. So he says, okay, I'll find you a life member. And then he found some Indian person and took me to this Indian ladies' saloon. And when I went there and I asked for hair, and then they said, yes, we have natural hair. He told me that you need synthetic hair for the deities. I said, natural hair, synthetic hair. And then I asked the lady, they said, no, this hair comes from India and it's all natural. It's people's hair cut off and they make them into wigs. So I said, what about synthetic? He said, no. So I said, where can I get synthetic ones? He says, you have to go to an African saloon. So I said, okay. So I asked him, Prabhu, can you take me to an African saloon? So he said, okay, let's go. There's one right close to the temple. So we went there and they had this big wigs on the head of the models, and I said, there was one that looked nice, it was curly, but it was like an afro style, very big, but then the curls were there. So I said, well, something's better than nothing, so we picked that one up. And for Srimati Radharani, we said, what will you take? And then they have these things like extra strands that the Africans add to their little hair. So they had like little strands of curls. So I collected a few of those curls, and then we went to the temple, and then Rupa looked at it and said, oh my God, what is this? And I said, this is the best we could do, And he says, okay, let me try this something. He says, get me some oil, and then he put some oil, he flattened it as much as he could. And with Srimati Radha, he said, I'm going to put this on. So then Shakti said, okay, and she brought some black thread, and then we tied all this. And we just tied it like this, so there's some hair over here, and some just went above, those curls going back, a few strands of curls here. And then next morning, when Darshanarti, we opened the altar, and Prabhupada saw the deities, he was very happy. And then we had the Mahabhishek, and lots of people had come. All the life members, guests were invited, diplomats were invited, and it went off very nicely. And then after the dressing, when the Shrigar Darshan opened, and Prabhupada saw the deity, and he said, Krishna has taken the mood of the Africans. And I think just a few months before, they had opened the temple in Paris, and he had said the same thing about Radharani, that she looks like one of the ladies of the Paris, that's when in Paris, Ishwar, because she had blue eyes, and So when you look, and if you look at Banke Bihari, the name Radha Banke Bihari, he looks exactly very African, you know. The hair and the face shape is so dark black. So Prabhupada said, we are not doing anything. See, the deities that had come earlier were lighter shade, were like bluish black, like greyish black. And these deities came and they were dark. So he said, this is what is going to attract all the Africans to come to the temple.
He was also very fierce.
Yes, he looks very...
When you walked into that temple, you knew you were in the presence of this true person.
Yes, very much. So with Prabhupada's blessing, everything went so nicely. And then next day, Prabhupada was not feeling too good, so he asked one Mataji, Mahananda, I can't remember her name, to cook something simple for Prabhupada. So she just boiled up a few things and... Rasalila? No, Rasalila was not there at that time. She came on later. Mahananda, Mahatma, somebody, I can't remember her name now. She cooked up this really boiled stuff, you know, yams and all the African vegetables. And when Prabhupada looked at it, you know, the plate was taken to his room and he was looked at it and he says, cook this. So this Mataji says, Maharaj, I cook, Swamiji, I cook. And he says, this is not even fit for the horse, you know. And she was shocked. And then he says, it's okay. What do you have in the kitchen? And she says, whatever you need, we have. He got up and he went into the kitchen and he cooked himself. Though he was not feeling well, and he got up, he went and he cooked. And he says, please don't offer such things to the deities. So she said, I just cooked this specially for you. So he says, thank you so much. But then he cooked up and then he told somebody else, I don't know who the conference now is out preaching to offer to the Lord and then to bring it to him.
Well, what did he say not to offer?
No, he said whatever the Mataji had prepared was like boiled stuff, and he said this is not even fit for the horse. Whatever because there was no taste, it was very bland. So he said this is not even fit for the horse. So, and then a few days after he asked, he called me and he said that, you know how to cook? I said yes. So he says, why don't we go into the kitchen and prepare nice things and maybe we can also show them how to cook. And I was thinking, show them. You know, they're so exalted and what am I going to here? I'm just 15 by then, you know, to show them how to cook. But that was what Prabhupada told me, and that became my service later on, because when I went back to Mombasa in 72, we started a small preaching center, and by then we had Rishi Raj Prabhu and Sibalananda Prabhu, and we had Chaitanya Prabhu, so I ended up, and we ended up, I was there teaching them. That became my service, like after school I would go there on Sundays, weekends, to help, show them how to cook, and then we were making our own incense, the spiritual sky incense. And then in 73, Jankinath Prabhu was going to get married. I can't remember his wife's name. And they suggested, Chaitanya Prabhu said that why don't you take initiation also at the same time, that fire sacrifice. So I said okay. And all the preparation was going on. By then what had happened is, this one movie had come out, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Devanand. And back then, Mombasa being a small town, everybody knew that I was very much affiliated with ISKCON and I was going there regularly. My father used to come and drop me and pick me up, because the area where we had the center was not a nice area. There was a lot of bars and pubs. And Mombasa being a port town, we used to have a lot of sailors coming in. A lot of prostitution going on, so my father was not allowing me to go on my own and come back, so every day he would drop me and pick me up. And Suchi Rani was there by then, and Ishashwini. So they all came from England, because for the preaching center to start, we needed Mataji's also to preach. There's a lot of Indian community and also preach to the African women. And what happened is, I think with the quarters, the temple that we had temporarily had only 2 rooms. So one was for brahmachari, one was an office and a small hall outside where the photographs were placed as a temple altar. So I think when Mataji was coming in, like 73, 74, Brahmananda Prabhu says that we need somebody's house to put all the ladies up. So they suggested to my father, and my father said, okay. By then my brother was away, he was studying here in India, so his room was vacant. So my father agreed, and then we started off that small place as a brahmacharini ashram in the house, and Mataji was our first candidate for that place. And
When you go to Mangalarti, it was too dangerous.
yes, yeah, we couldn't go to Mangalarti because it was too early, and on the way you don't know, you might get stopped. And so I was just doing everything with her at home, and she was our source of inspiration because we've never had any devotees stay with us at home, so we learned everything from scratch. And then soon after she left, we had this Shaktimati Mataji from Nairobi. She was also one of the most powerful ladies, with very strong preaching for Nairobi Yatra, and she was a widow and she used to run a nursery, and Prabhupada was very impressed with her because she met her at the time of the installation just on invitation that she had read in the paper, and she was very much attracted to Srila Prabhupada. And that same day she decided to dedicate her life with her family. She had 5 children. They were known as the 5 Pandavas afterwards in this
Had a daughter too.
Yeah, Subhadra. Went to Yagyadas. So it was so nice, and then because she was a businesswoman, she did wonderful preaching to the industrial. She used to go to the industrial area. So at that time, so when Prabhupada asked her also to go and establish some sort of preaching for the women in Mombasa, so she came also to Mombasa for 2 weeks, and I used to accompany her, and she would just walk into any office, big people where you need an appointment, and she would go without appointment, and she had a strong and huge structure, the body, like she was very Punjabi, like a Jat, like a real strong lady. And then I'm just trying to follow her, and she says, just walk straight, don't walk like that, walk straight, Then I'm following her, carrying all the things for her. And she'll just knock on the door, open the door without even the person saying, come in. She'll go sit herself down right in front of that person and say, do you know Krishna? And he said, yes, where are you from? I am from Krishna Consciousness Society. I am from ISKCON. Have you heard about it? The person says, the Hare Krishnas? Yes. And then she'll start preaching. Then she'll slowly mellow down. But her initial impact was like real strong, that the other person would not have anything to say first. All they have to do is hear her, and once she starts speaking, it's non-stop. She wouldn't even have that person say yes, no, nothing. Like in between they'll try to say, can we offer you some water? No, we've taken everything and we've come. We've just come for you to give you Krishna. Very nice lady, and when we leave, they're ready with the donation. She would not leave without any donation. Such a bad lady. So for that 2 weeks that she stayed, it was a lot of enlightenment we had, and got to learn so much. So when then my initiation part came, my father got very worried. All the people were telling him that your daughter is going to take initiation, but you see this movie, because by now, hearing so much from ISKCON, we stopped movies, we stopped Anyangali, I stopped socializing, I didn't go for any wedding events. All I wanted to do was to go to the temple. So my father got very worried that, I was like diving right into it, and he was afraid, and I was very young, and so when the initiation part came, he refused. He says, he's still Chaitanya, you're not giving initiation to her at all. So I was almost there in the yagya, and I got pulled out. But because I always led a protected life, there was no way I could discourage them or rebel them or run off. So after a few days when I went back to the temple, Chaitanya Prabhu was saying, see, you come from an Indian family, Indian parents will be never ready to let you go to Krishna consciousness, not join the ISKCON. So why don't you bring your passport and I'll make arrangements for you to run away to England and then take initiation there. So then I said, no, I can't do that. I'm sorry, I can't do that. So he said, well, then you just have to be a bhakti all the time. It's okay. So when I spoke to my father after that, I really want to take initiation. So he asked me, what about your studies? I said, I don't want to study. I want to be part of their life. I want to be like them. I didn't really have strong answers, to convince him. So he was not happy. And in 1974, he went on a convention to USA. He was a Rotarian chairman, so he went to the Rotary Club. And when he went to Los Angeles, Srila Prabhupada was there. So he was staying in the temple guest house. So he met Srila Prabhupada and he said that, look, this devotees, I'm convincing my daughter to run away, but I don't agree with it and I don't want her to leave right now. I want her to finish her education. See, my father had a very hard time in getting himself educated because he came from a very poor family. So he was working during the day and going to night college, and then that's how he wanted to become a doctor. He could not become a doctor because he didn't have enough money. So he became a chartered accountant. So he had this desire that when I have children, I want them all highly educated. So he already destined my brother to become a doctor, sent him off to India to become a doctor, and he wanted me to go to England to become a pharmacist. So all this thing was going to fall apart, if I joined ISKCON. So when he met Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yes." Then he told him that, devotees are forcing my daughter to join him. So then Srila Prabhupada spoke with Ajahn Prabhu that speak to whoever is there that they should not do this. And then he told my father, okay, you want her to be a pharmacist? It's okay, I'm also a chemist. So, but he said that after she becomes a pharmacist, that if she wants to join ISKCON, you should allow her to. So my father said, okay. Because one criteria that my father had was that Srila Prabhupada's movement is so young still. And in a few years, we are an old man. He just bluntly told me that we are an old man, and in a few years, if we are no more, and this movement is still so young, it will fall apart. And then what will happen to her if she leaves her education halfway, and how will she maintain herself, even if we are there or not? So he was thinking much ahead. So then I think my father agreed to that, but he was thinking that maybe this is a passing fluctuation. Wear out once I go off to England to study. So when he came back, he told me that this is, he's spoken to Prabhupada and this is what he said. So I didn't agree with him, So I spoke to Shakti Mataji that what should I do? So he says, she told me that you write a letter to Srila Prabhupada. So that was my first letter that I wrote to Srila Prabhupada saying that my father wants me to go off to England, but I'm not too happy. I don't know if I'll be able to continue with my Krishna conscious life there. And it's going to be difficult studying, chanting, and reading. So then I got a reply from Srila Prabhupada on the 5th of July 1974 saying that don't worry, we have ISKCON centers everywhere in England. You have devotees there you can associate with, and just follow the 4 regulatory principles, put them down for immediate intoxication. He said, make sure to read my book every day, Bhagavad Gita, for Prashna Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he says, whenever you come back, I have told, by then we had, because of this influence that was happening, Chaitanya Guru Prabhu was called back to India, and Navindra Maharaj was sent there. So he and along with Shakti Mataji, they preached very well in Mombasa, and then he says, I've told, in my letter it mentions that I have asked Navindra Maharaj and Shakti Mataji to combine and start the center and preach very nicely. So he says, whenever you go back, you can assist them in preaching. So with that, I went to England to study. The first year I was there, I didn't like it at all, because we used to do lab experiments, we were taking rats and inject things into the cats, half memory damaged and everything. It was very upsetting. So in 1 year, also what happened is where I was staying, which was in Holloway, which was just 2 stations away from our burial place temple. So on the weekend we used to go to the Waterford temple, but most of the weekdays after college I used to go to the burial place temple. And on the weekends they invited me to come and stay there. But in burial place, they had only one brahmacharini room. And it was very difficult because there's one brahmacharini room and there's one bathroom which has a toilet, a bathtub, and a basin to brush. So in the morning at Mangalarti, everybody gets up at the same time, everybody rushes in, and there's like a line. There's one passing, one brushing, one showering, and it's all open in one area. And the first morning when I got up and I went in, I could not do the thing that they were all doing. So I went at the back of the queue. And I waited until everybody had done. Then when it was time for me to go in, I was the last one. So I locked the bathrooms, and after I did everything, Priyas and I went down from Mangalarti, it was quite late. So it happened twice. And then this was like an Easter vacation, I was there. And then on 6th day, the temple president, which is the Virya Prabhu, he was the temple president, and he's telling me, how come you're late at Mangalarti every day? And there was Mother Kulangana. She had come in to ask him something, and he had called me to his office and he asked me that, why is this thing happening? And I said, because, I'm not used to taking bath and doing all these prayers with everybody around. So he says, but you're all the same body, you should not feel so conscious. I said, I have not done this, so it's very hard for me. So then Mother Kulangana was there, and she just patted on my back from my shoulder from the back, and she says, don't worry, I have a room upstairs in the attic, you come and stay with me. And Vichitri Virya says, you sure you want her? She's a young bhakti, and she said, it's okay. So, I was like, which was arrangement and with Srila Prabhupada's blessings, because I could see that all along, Prabhupada's blessings were there to, keep me intact so that I'm there, being Krishna conscious all the time. And then I moved in with her, and there was a small attic and I had a place on the floor. And she would get up at 2 in the morning, she would take a shower, chant, and then she would be down. There was a cellar room, there was a kitchen where she used to bake everything. So then it became my service that I should help her. So I got to learn how to cook much better, to cook baking items with her. And then after I finished my A levels, and then I had to go to study pharmacy. So I went up to Sunderland, and there was no ISKCON center then. I was lamenting all the time. And then after a year there, I just could not survive this. There's no devotees, and it was like an international place where there were students from all over the places. So I just packed up my bags and I went back to Kenya, and I told my father, I can't study there, Either there has to be a temple of Krishna, otherwise it's very difficult. So my father said, it doesn't matter, if it takes you 10 years, 15 years, but you have to get the degree and come back. So he took me back, and when I was going there, I met Mother Yashashwani at the Waterford temple. And she says, don't worry, I'm preaching in Newcastle upon Tyne, which is just about 25-30 kilometers from Sunderland. So she says, on the weekend you can come and see me there. So that was very nice that I knew somebody from here who was going to be there. So that became quite frequent, and somehow I survived those 3 years there. So after that I got back. And what happened is, Leela Shakti Mataji used to always inform me whenever Srila Prabhupada would come, that if he could come. So in 1977, when Srila Prabhupada was visiting England, and he was very sick, and he was supposed to go somewhere from England. At that time, Leela Shakti Mataji informed me that Srila Prabhupada is here, if you would like to come and meet him. So I said, I cannot come right now because I was in the middle of my exams. So I said, can I come after this week when it finishes? Because I'll be done with my exams. So she says, yes, Prabhupada's going to be here for 10 days. So just when my exams finished, she called me that day, and we are all leaving for Vrindavan because Srila Prabhupada's health is very bad, and then everybody's going there, all the GBC and all the senior devotees. So she says, instead of coming here, why don't you just come to India? I said, no, I cannot come to India because that would be very difficult for me. So I'm having exams, it's just finished, and my next term will start very soon. So she says, then don't come to London because we're already leaving. So I said, okay. But then I was not thinking that Srila Prabhupada is going to leave and was going to terminate his services here. So when I got the news, I was very sad. And then I was thinking, like a lot of people ask me, why do you take initiation from Prabhupada? Like we were listening to Rasa Sundi Prabhu the other day that in spite of her being initiated, but she never got to meet Srila Prabhupada. And she was lamenting. And I was thinking, I had opportunity twice to take initiation, but I didn't take it. Maybe because Srila Prabhupada knew that I was not ready. And also, if I had run away, if I had rebelled and I'd run away, then my parents would have been so upset that they would have probably not joined ISKCON. And also, I was thinking that, Prabhupada left so soon and I was still very young. So like so many exalted devotees, after Prabhupada, they felt the separation and they also left the movement. And I was thinking, I'll probably be in that same boat. So like Srila Prabhupada was really saving me. And he gave me association of such wonderful devotees. And I'm really indebted to lots of devotees, Mother Kulangana, Mother Parvati, Shakti Mataji is no more. And also I'm very grateful to my spiritual master, His Holiness Rupa Goswami, who took me in his shelter and has guided me so well. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Rupa for her talk there on Mombasa and Nairobi. Can we hear from Chitta Hari Prabhu from Australia?